did you think about the value of what he said?
Well, at first, I was getting a little worried over here, like, oh goodness, here men go playing the victim. But then, he started making more valid points that made sense. But I still think, and the whole conversation reminded me. So maybe a week ago, I was on the phone with one of my male friends, and he was telling me how he had a preference, and I don't know, I'm not turning this into a race thing, guys, but he had a preference over white women over black women, the black man, because he felt like black women talked down to him the same way this guy was like perception, and also are harder to control. But then when he gets the white women, or whatever, it's easier to control. And they don't talk down. They encourage. They want to give him money. They want to help him build all these things.
Is that what you want, bro? That's what you want? Okay.
And so when I heard this thing, it's like the instant thing that I thought of, like, you're listening wrong. It's not, and it was like, yes, you're listening wrong. It's not that, that black female was trying to talk down to you. You were just in a space where, like Cookie said, you wanted someone to nurture you.
He wants a mom.
You feel me? You need a sugar mama. So you couldn't hear past the noise or whatever, But I definitely think that works both ways, men and women, responding and listening. But then there's also a point where you have to make sure that you're listening properly and not trying to convince yourself that you're hearing something, that's not being said. Because sometimes it is being said in an attack. And if you're trying to always force yourself to have this mindset, oh, no, I need to be listening, you could be bypassing red flags because you're trying so bad to be this wholeness and, listen and, whatever. So, yeah.
Yeah, no, great point. And that was the whole beauty of this thing, because he mentioned, he's like, oh, it's not woe is me as a man, but yeah, you got to listen different. And it makes me wonder too, especially talking to these men, like, if it's a black man, going to the thing, and he's dating a white woman, maybe he did or didn't have a good relationship with his mother or sisters or other black women in the community growing up. And then now here you are trying to be his woman. And yeah, now you're not hearing me the same because you got that lens that, covering your ear that's sounding like, everything that you ain't trying to hear that. I don't need no more attacks for the rest of my, and you really do yourself a disservice because, it's funny. I was thinking about it earlier, and a lot of, if you don't want to grow, you know what I mean? And you're just looking for somebody to nurture and give you money and do this and do that. I don't know. I don't know what to really think about that. That's not really somebody who is showing up in a way where, I don't know if a woman could find enough value, if I could say. And Black Women Speak in the chat, she said, when you are listening, are you taking mental notes?
I always ask this question because it's like, I do it with myself when people are talking sometimes. It's like, I'm trying to hear them, but I'm also trying to process. And then I'm trying to take my notes so I can respond. Like all of this stuff is happening at the same time. And so, yeah, it is hard to like compartmentalize that sometimes to when am I listening? When am I thinking this through so that I can make a proper response? Because most often the first response is the wrong one, And so like all of these things are going on. And so what I felt like in BJ's clip was he was hearing but blocking, like you said. And then it was for the first time that he was like, but I think for me, this is what happens after someone tells me something. I have to go back and process it. I'll hear you. I'm probably not going to say anything, but then I'll think about it later. I'm like, oh yeah, that was, and so I feel like sometimes in the moment, it is hard to do that. It is hard to have someone, attacking you or telling you something. And you're just like, okay, I need to process that. There has to take some sort of time for me to even understand that you're coming from a place of love and you're not trying to attack me, and that you're really trying to see me in a better space. But I don't see that in this moment. So I'm going to take a step back. We're going to come back. And when I do you know, when my head is better, because when someone's coming at you, your head is not there. It's just not. So I don't know. It's just it's hard to process that in the same moment in that space.
That makes sense. You know, the other thing that came up after the clip for me was like, is there a particular frequency that, you know what I'm saying, that you're hearing the criticism, or you're hearing the, you know what I'm saying, the things that are like, I'm not pleased with this, or I'm complaining, or, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you're only hearing that, then I think that you naturally get conditioned to expect that every time your partner is basically sharing whatever it might be. So I often wonder, you know, when I hear that, when men are just automatically defensive, it's like, is that the only communication, you know, that you're really having in your relationship? Or because sometimes that is the dynamic, you know what I mean? Like, you're not really getting any of the like, thank you for what you did, I appreciated this, or that. Like, you're not hearing the recognition and the good acknowledgement. It's more so of like, it's time to talk, you did this wrong, you know what I mean? Going through the list. And so that can naturally kind of create this like uptightness, and like the moment that it's an opportunity to speak, it's like, oh shit, here we go. Like,
dang.
Yeah.
You don't want to hear it.
And so in the chat, Black Women Speak said, we take notes in the classroom. We are listening to learn, but in relationships, we are waiting to speak. How often do we ask if we can come back to the conversation? That's what I was thinking. Because that's pretty mature though, Cookie. Because sometimes it's like,
because
you want to have the conversation.
I can't. No, I just know about myself. I am more of like a firecracker. If I respond in the moment, I'm going to attack back if I feel attacked. So for me, if I know someone's really trying to talk to me and I can't receive it in that moment, I ask them if I can step away, because I'm not in the space to receive how you want me to receive this. I'm in a space to attack. And if this is going to go so bad, so I need to take a step back. And, you know, hindsight is 20/20. I'll go home, I'll think about it, and I'll be in a better space. And I'm, you know, but sometimes I can't handle that in the moment. And people have to respect that. You know, sometimes, you know, people come to a conversation waiting for it to end right there. Like, okay, I heard you. Now let me go build my case. You know, let me go get my lawyer ready. You know what I'm saying? Let me go do my research. Let me make sure you're making sense here. You said I did what? On a what day? What was that? Like, you know, I need to think. Alibi. Yeah, no, I need to think, you know, sometimes, especially when it's real hard, when it's coming from family, or when it's coming from a relationship, when it's real hard, tough love, and you're not in the space to receive, you need to walk away. you need to take a breather.
Yeah, I know for me, I'm really bad at this too. Like once I don't hear what I need to hear, I stop listening to you. So like, and this, I listen. I might even do this. I do this in business too. Once if I'm negotiating with you and you like start saying stuff I don't even hear you no more. Like, you're probably like, you're rambling. I stop listening, and like I stopped like rationing what's happening in our heads, and it's now I'm just waiting for you to be quiet so I can talk. Like, you know, so that I can like reiterate what I already said. But I do that even in arguments, or I rarely argue, guys.
So like, Black Women Speak said, you're waiting to speak.
You feel me? I am waiting to speak. And then, because I was kind of like, you know, especially like being a trained journalist, you were trained to like always be thinking about the next thing. Right. So when I was listening to people for like a whole year and a half, 2 years, I was never processing. And it could be we could be at the grocery store. I was always thinking of, okay, she just said this. How could I like respond in a clever, fun way? And I was having regular conversations with people like this. And I had to like retrain myself, like, girl, you are in the real world. This is not an interview. Be present, right?
Be in the present.
So it's like, I think I always say, I think being like a journalist affected my communication skills, because they don't teach you to like, they teach you to just react, like, you know.
You have to be one step ahead.
And I was definitely going to bring that up, because in our profession, so I didn't go to school for communications or journalism. So as much as I am waiting to speak, and it's like you're listening with one ear, but the other side has to be ready to say something, and it has to
Right.
be informative, educated, witty. It has to be something. So
Yeah.
naturally, you're listening with two pieces of your brain. It's a skill, okay? And but it's also like, because I've been hired to host in so many different places, I had to listen, because if I wasn't listening, I wouldn't have nothing to say. I'm hosting tech shows. I'm not a tech guru. If I'm not listening to this person, I'm gonna sound like a real idiot in 3, 2, 1. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I have to figure it out.
Mhm.
But I definitely want to kind of take that advice with what you said, Cookie, is like, when I know I need a minute, I need to take it, because my blood runs hot. And let's just keep it real. Like, it could be somebody that loves you, or it could be somebody where you're still trying to decipher where they're coming from. But when somebody's trying to tell you about yourself, especially if there's a particular tone to it,
It's hard to hear.
your fight or flight comes out, and it's like, I'm a fight too. Who are you? How are you valid? Like, I'm about to build my case right in front of you, and we're gonna shut it down and we're gonna move on. You can stay cool or not, but I run hot. But like you said, Kei'Renee, actually BJ said the same thing. It's like, and I know you guys notice this with men, but they either want to retort or they go blank. It's just like, have you ever been in an argument with a dude and he checks out and gets you more mad?
Either they're gonna give you that fire or it's nothing.
Yeah.
That's a survival tactic. It's a survival.
Yeah. And then that's when we tend to come back like, no, we having this conversation right now.
Right now.
Like, no, it ain't no coming back. Like, we having it right now.
And that attitude right there is why they're not with our skin color.
But
Your friend.
yeah. And shout out